Long, we're going to be having a candid conversation with none other than Principal Secretary in charge of MSME development, that is Susan Mangeni, to just take us through the conversation on globalization of the MSME sector with a keen focus on digital operations. So just a quick recap, just as you mentioned, is that this is day 3, and what is currently happening now between this, it's around 8, let's say, from 9 a.m. all the way to 5 p.m. Two things are going to be happening right here at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, as Nairobi is hosting the 24th COMESA Summit and Heads of State meeting here. Being the 2025, some of the things that we're going to be looking at, or rather the summit is looking at, is how to transform trade within the regional bloc, moving away from paper-based to the digital platform. Yesterday in day 2, we had chief guest, that is none other than Professor Kithure Kindiki, who emphasized that once Kenya takes up the chairmanship position from today, one of the things that it has prioritized is to push for more adoption and integration of technology and innovation on matters trade. This means that movement of goods as well as persons across the regional bloc, made up of 21 states, is going to be seamless and effective. Some of the areas that have already been proven and tested includes the adoption of the electronic country of origin certification in countries of Zambia and Malawi, as well as Eswatini. They have proven that this, following this particular adoption in that particular process, it is seamless and cost is effective. We also heard yesterday from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers decrying of protectionist policies across member states. One of the value chains that was mentioned by the Vice President of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, that is Mr. Hitesh. He said the dairy as well as edible oil value chains are yet to be resolved, or rather issues around those particular value chains are still to be resolved, and it has taken quite a long time, and that those that have the powers that be that needs to address that to ensure that the value chain goes on seamlessly. Another issue that was brought forth by the chief guest, that is Professor Kithure Kindiki, was the fact that integration of technology would be one of the key strategies that member states would be applying to stem fraud and corruption, especially at the borders, and in terms of also devaluing the products that are in circulation. Manufacturers, or rather private sector, also decried of products at on the shelf, or rather the end products, saying that instead of competing as member states, there should be an approach to complement each other so that trade can be enhanced. Statistics from the COMESA Secretariat indicate that intra-COMESA states only 70% of the total trade within the bloc. What this in essence means is that COMESA states, the 21 member states, are trading less within themselves, but trading more with outside factors, including the EU as well as China. That is something that needs to be corrected as far as yesterday's conversation, the business forum, is concerned. So the theme this year is leveraging digitization to deepen regional value chains for sustainable and inclusive growth. And as such, the region's leaders are exploring how technology can be used to ease trade processes, eliminate inefficiencies, and turn connectivity into higher earnings for member states. The outcomes of all the conversations that we've had, day 1, we're talking about the EU and matters horticulture, given that Kenya prides itself as an agriculture-driven economy, but the numbers do not speak of that, especially when it comes to matters, just looking at the phytosanitary requirements of these horticultural products, especially accessing the EU market. That was a challenge that was brought up in day 1 when stakeholders were just looking at how to streamline and harmonize policies to ensure local farmers within this particular bloc could tap into the opportunities within the EU in as far as matters of horticultural products are concerned. There's also conversation on how the bloc can align its policies with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. This came into force in 2024, and Africa in itself is yet to fully realize the potential of this particular agreement that was made to just ensure Africa trades within itself, having such a market and not utilizing it as it should. So alignment in terms of harmonization and policies to take advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement also came up in the course of this particular discussions. That was day one. Day two was business to business as well as business to government and business to corporates, speaking in unison that it's the high time that we moved from conversation, theory, policy to actionable steps to drive trade across the regional bloc. Issues that have come up also, given today is day three, Kenya is going to be taking up her position as chair of the COMESA bloc, and it's going to be pushing on digital adoption across matters trade to just also help MSMEs. And in not too long, we're going to be having that candid conversation with the principal secretary in charge of MSME development, that is Susan Mangeni. She was also part of the team and moderating on how to empower small medium enterprises, especially in the agri-tech value chain. Some of the questions that we would have her answer is, what is the biggest shift this summit has represented for MSMEs within COMESA? And also another critical area that we're going to be looking at in not too long is what import does digital trade. When you talk digital trade, how then are we incorporating small and medium-sized enterprises into this particular value chain? Looking at Kenya's perspective, reports have been out there that one of the main challenges that faced by MSMEs and SMEs is market access. And from the speakers in this particular summit is that the adoption of digital systems is going to erase borders because, as you know, technology is driven, or rather technology-driven markets. That's where we find ourselves in as far as the Industrial Revolution is concerned. So with digital adoption of digital smart systems, it means the borders do not exist. Also with the digital systems, we're talking about cashless payments. Kenya has been at the fore when it comes to matters of Fintech with globally renowned mobile money transfer that has transcended the globe, and so Kenya is going to be leading from the front in that particular perspective. So from an MSME point of view, would want to know, in not too long, Kenya is championing to ensure MSMEs, especially women and youth-led businesses, are not left behind in this transformation. Looking at this fragmentation of the Kenyan population when it comes to matters business, women and youth form are not a significant part in the formal businesses, so to speak, largely informal, and we are yet to have them into the fold. That's another aspect. Then access to capital. Under the Department of Trade and as well as MSME development, we had the Hustler Fund that rolled out when this particular regime took over, and it was geared to ensure that there's more money to individuals, especially businesses. However, looking at the performance of the Hustler Fund, there have been critics who have been saying that it is not sustainable going forward because of the 30% non-repayment. So what does the future hold for Kenya's MSMEs, and more so, looking at this particular scope, what does the future look like for MSMEs within the regional bloc? That's just but a quick summary of what day one, day two, and day three is all about, and keenly focusing on day three. We are currently having a ministerial meeting that is closed door. Yes, that is currently closed door. And the person who is actually the chief guest in this particular closed-door ministerial meeting is Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. Some of the key areas that are going to be discussed in this particular closed-door, Victor, as well as Mike and Vivian back in Broadcasting House, is matters peace and security. We have 21 member states in the regional bloc, and we have already confirmed that we have representatives from Sudan, Somalia, Uganda, and Libya who are already in this particular ministerial meeting, and also elders, have also been invited in this ministerial meeting. We say Africa, we are in Africa, and Africa is our business, and then you can see the role that community leaders are playing when it comes to matters peace and security. The outcomes of this particular ministerial meeting, being the 20th, is going to be made public towards the end of the day at around 5 p.m. So Vivian and Mike, I don't know if you have questions. Maybe you can bring you up to speed on expectations. Over to you, Viv and Mike.
Thank you so much, Regina, for putting us up to speed on what is to be expected today. As we've heard from her, the ministerial meeting is currently ongoing, and it is a closed one that is being chaired or led by Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. And my expectations from that particular conversation that they are having, or meeting that they are having, is just to get to understand what exactly they were able to come up with in terms of matters peace, matters security, which are very, very crucial, not just in this country, but across the borders. So we would love to know what are some of the things that have been suggested, what are the strategies that are being put in place, and how to go about ensuring that we get to implement the strategies that will be put in place. So we're really looking forward to getting to know the outcome of the meeting that is currently ongoing right now at KICC. Mike, I don't know what and even you make of that.
If matters of peace and security are to be considered within member states, you're looking at areas like Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, areas of
yes.
conflict. How do you think this body, the COMESA, needs to address this? Because this also affects trade within the bloc. So I think it's something that, Ray, that maybe we'd be looking forward to hearing what they will say regarding areas like South Sudan, Somalia, Sudan currently, which is in turmoil. Maybe that's one of the things that they ought to address to enhance trade within these areas. Yeah.
Indeed, those are the likely outcomes, Mike. That is very well put. So the situation in Sudan, also the situation between borders, Uganda and Kenya and such, that is likely to come up. We're also going to be looking at the situation in Somalia. So those are some of the outcomes we anticipate that are going to take center stage in this closed-door ministerial meeting. And on the periphery, PS in charge of MSME development, Madam Susan Mangeni, is already within this particular precinct, or rather the set. So we're going to be having that candid and exclusive interview in regard to how do we globalize, MSME sector, and also what do we expect for SMEs going forward. So we take it back to you as we proceed with the rest of this particular programming.
Indeed. All right. I think that is one of the interesting things about these issues, or the bodies that we have within Africa. We are talking about COMESA, the aspect of also the African Free Continental Trade Area, because all of them are trying to get that common market. So how can African countries capitalize on that? And I think this summit should come up with something that fits every nation and also addresses the interest of every nation.
Yeah, that is very, very important. And I love the fact that the theme for this year is on matters digitization, you know, which is very, very crucial. And at this point in time, when technology has taken center stage across the globe, it is very important to look at ways in which we can leverage, digital systems to ensure that we are making countries or across the member countries of COMESA, we are making things easier through, digital systems, to ensuring that we have digital smart systems that can be able to enable us to trade freely across borders, making us borderless truly. And there's something that Regina rather had mentioned earlier on matters, things to do with money transfer, which is something that has really come in handy on matters, just ensuring that trade is going on and it is happening smoothly, and it is really coming in handy. So if we can be able to look at more ways in which we can digitize things and make them, adopt those digital systems that can be able to allow us to trade freely across the member states, of COMESA.
And actually, Kenya stands an advantageous position because we are taking up the chairmanship of COMESA. Yeah, this is where we end the show.
And right now, we want to leave you with a documentary on Senate Mashinani.